I would like to ask and invite Christie up, and she will do a presentation and a very short bio, just so that everybody's up to speed. And it'll be an inclusive presentation with a performance and talk about her composition, and we're very excited to have her. So I'd like to welcome Christie.
Thank you, Stella, for your kind words of introduction and for this invitation to share my music with all of you today. I am both a teacher and a student for life. In other words, a lifelong learner who likes to acquire new skills and then apply them. By switching back and forth both of these roles, I seldom become bored, and life for me feels enriched. So allow me for a few minutes to take you back in time to share a little of my musical journey that has brought me to where I am today as a voice teacher, performer, adjudicator, and composer. As a child, I always loved music, but my family had very little money for extras. My parents paid for piano lessons at age 7, but we did not own a piano. My grandmother played a prominent role in these beginning musical formative years, as she was the only family member that had a piano. It was a Mason and Rish, and I felt privileged to play it. It was expected for me to walk to her house and practice every day. I never minded the long walk despite the frigid, cold Ontario temperatures of -20. Because I love my grandmother, and she and I developed a bond like no other. Grandma shared that piano bench with me when I was frustrated, and ever so lovingly she guided my little fingers over the keys that she shared with me for 3 years. Now, at the mature age of 10, I had proven to be disciplined in practicing and demonstrated a passion for playing. I prepared and took RCM exams, which Grandma explained was like a musical outing, getting to share my piano playing with a stranger who absolutely loved the very same pieces as me. She said these people, examiners they were called, they lived far away and they could only afford to come and hear me play once. And most likely, I'd never see them again. She explained that is why it was so important for a person to practice a lot, because it wouldn't be fair for someone to pay tons of money to travel and hear wrong notes. She never called them mistakes. Grandma assured me that the person who would be listening to me playing in the room wouldn't talk much because they would be busy, happily writing down things they enjoyed about my playing, with some helpful suggestions on how to improve. Well, this didn't seem so very different than playing for Grandma on a daily basis, except I didn't like all the technical scales, chords, ear tests, sight reading that went along with this visitor, and I wish that he or she would bypass all of this and get to the pieces that we both loved. My grandmother explained her theory that big hills help to make your legs stronger, and these were the piano hills for my fingers. What a wise woman my grandmother was, as she always found a great way to keep piano playing for me stress-free. In fact, each year, I believe that these people that lived so far away had talked to one another and convinced each other that they should take turns and come and hear me play and save money. So I practiced longer and harder because, of course, the levels were increasingly getting more difficult, and they required much more time. The number on the books were also getting bigger each year, up to and including grade 8. Practice was a win-win situation for me because it exempted me from washing and drying the dishes every night. And my parents were now convinced that they should buy me my very own piano. When the piano arrived, precisely on my 10th birthday, I cried because I was filled with so much gratitude and appreciation, knowing that my folks made a huge sacrifice somewhere in their finances to be able to afford this for me. Now my world was complete with all the composers and their music right in my very own living room. I remember saying to my grandma that one day I too would like to figure out how to write music so that maybe others could enjoy mine and share it. I was very specific that it would only be my music because I didn't want one of those funny heads sitting on the piano like my teacher had. In my studio today, I do have a bust of my favorite composer, which is Mozart. I sang in many children's choirs through church, school, and the 1,000-voice community choir. I enjoyed singing with others because it felt safe, especially in the 1,000-voice choir with 999 other kids around you. Who would ever want to stand in front of a bunch of people and sing a solo? At least when you play, once you sit down, people can't really see you all that well. But a singer, on the other hand, is exposed from head to toe. My music director of the 1,000-voice children's choir was seeking for a male and a female singer to audition. This was the word he used, and I had no idea what it meant. The challenge was to be able to sing God Save the Queen by only using 2 breaths. Wow, what a fascinating breathing experiment to try to figure out. Little did I know that these indeed were the beginning stages of becoming a voice teacher and pedagogue. As a youngster, I was curious and I enjoyed a challenge, and I soon discovered that it was much easier to sing this required piece of repertoire lying down as opposed to standing up. So I spent hours changing, positioning, and training my lungs to expand when I was not fighting gravity. In other words, I challenged myself to try and find the same feeling of ease while standing as in lying down. Because after all, it would not have only been disrespectful, but most unpatriotic singing God Save the Queen on your back. I wanted to be able to trust my voice to sing with great lung capacity. And if this experiment succeeded, I thought it would be pretty amazing. Maybe perhaps someday, way down the road, I might consider singing it for the Queen as well. And so audition day arrived. I sang my breathing experiment with the Queen nowhere in sight, in exactly 2 breaths, went home and felt satisfied. The next day, our phone rang, and my mother answered to hear a voice on the other end say, "Your daughter Christine has been chosen as the female soloist to sing in front of 8,000 people at our annual Christmas concert." My mother proclaimed she knew nothing about an audition, that they must have the wrong child, the wrong phone number, her daughter never sings in public, only in choirs. The voice on the other end described my physical appearance, and Mother said she would call him back after she chatted with me. So my mom asked me, "Did you do an audition?" And then informed me, as a result of my breathing experiment, that I had been chosen to sing a solo in front of many people. I told her it was only an experiment with no intent to be a soloist as I proceeded to the bathroom and threw up. I did, however, make my first debut as a child soprano with floodlights so blindingly bright so as not to see the packed-out concert hall filled with thousands of people. The following week, voice lessons began as a paid scholarship for a young emerging artist for the next 3 years, and that suited my parents' budget to a T. I continued to take voice lessons right up, including age 50, when I completed my ARCT Voice Performance Practical exam through RCM. I am proud to call myself a lifelong learner because I believe no one ever arrives. Those beginning years in both voice and piano are what instilled in me a continued desire to pursue and study music all of my life. Switching hats off and on over time from student to teacher roles throughout university, conservatories, and in private studios has proven to be both challenging and rewarding on so many levels. My belief is simple, sincere, and an honest one. Sure, we as students have to do the work in order to obtain the degrees necessary to become teachers and performers, but it is much more bigger than just me. It would be egotistical and unjust to think that I managed all of this on my own. There were, and still are, my teachers and educators that are equally responsible for sharing my success today. My philosophy, 50% is good teaching, the other 50 to be divided between remaining teachable all of your life and practicing. For the many teachers that believed in me and helped me on my musical journey throughout the years, I am forever grateful, and many of them are sitting in this room today. 2 summers ago, while in Ontario, I had the privilege to visit my first childhood piano teacher, who is now 95 years of age. I thanked her for being patient with me on the days that I showed up and I hadn't practiced. I asked her if she was aware when that happened, and she just smiled and said, "Well, dear, perhaps it was a good idea that you chose to become a voice teacher." God, I love the people that keep you humble and proud. I believe any form of education is never a waste when one decides to be a lifelong learner. As today I stand before you in a new and exciting venture as a member of the ACWC, the Association of Canadian Women Composers. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity thanking my teacher, mentor, colleague, and friend, Diane Berry, also a long-standing member of the BCRMTA, for all of her expertise, her guidance, in overseeing my first composition, To the Consequences. Thank you, Diana. My vision in writing To the Consequences is twofold. As C.S. Lewis once said, a children's story is not a very good story if it's only for children. As composers, we must be good storytellers. One cannot write children's music unless they can relate to the way a child would think and feel. Thus, the titles for each of these 4 songs was birthed from having worked with children's voices for now 4 decades. Yes, I am that old. I have heard many of my students sing through lost teeth, such as, Mrs. Christie, yesterday my tooth seemed fine when I was eating pizza in a booth. Song number 1, Baby Tooth Blues. And, Mrs. Christie, I have 3 missing teeth on both the top and the bottom. You know that could rake in a few bucks. But what about the tooth fairy? Mrs. Christie, do you believe? Song number 2, To the Consequences. And, oh, great, Mrs. Christie, I'm in high school, and guess what? I have to wear braces for the next 3 years. My life is over. And it gets worse. The orthodontist sent me a list of all the foods that I have to avoid. Popcorn is even on it. Song number 3, Ode to Braces. And finally, grad year has arrived, and even though the dental work is complete, the confidence is not always there until one holds the invisible mirror of their own heart and realizes their self-worth is always connected, first from the heart, and then reflected through their own unique, special, beautiful smile. Piece number 4, entitled Mirror, Mirror. Pedagogically speaking, I could go on and on, but I've condensed, and the To the Consequences was written at a level that is equivalent for both the singer and pianist, thus allowing students of similar ages to work together. The level I have assigned would be an advanced grade 7-8. Other obvious benefits for students working together on these pieces would be that the singer doesn't have to hire and pay an accompanist. What fun awaits if the 2 performers are siblings, good friends, or just 2 emerging artists looking for a new musical buddy. All of the pieces in To the Consequences stand alone as separate works, allowing for a new area of study for both the vocal and piano student. For any of you that have tried your hands, pun intended, in the art of accompanying, it is not easy. It's a very different feeling for both the singer and the pianist to be now not independent doing solo work. These pieces could be used in the Greater Victoria Performing Arts Festival in categories listed as English Language Art Song or Canadian Composer. We also have a category in the voice section where both the pianist and singer are adjudicated. Any one of these pieces would be a good starting place.